you can't force someone to take personal growth seriously, but I can at least share things with them, and then hopefully one or two or three people, or however many people, they'll pull something from it and it'll help them, and eventually they'll think like, oh, maybe I should do this for myself.
Hey Ryan, glad to have you here today.
Hey Spencer, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, likewise. And it's funny because we connected maybe a week or two ago, and as we're kind of sharing background stories, we realized that they're very, very similar in a lot of ways, and not that they're common either, because you come from kind of a direct mail background, family business, but maybe you can kind of share a little backstory there on the family business and how you got involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, happy to be here. And in terms of Ballantine, yeah, it's my family's marketing agency. It goes back to the mid '60s. We still do a lot of direct mail, but we've last 5 years have added a whole digital component to it. So my great uncle started the company in 1966, so we're on 55 years now. And myself, my two brothers, my uncle are partners in the agency. My father retired in 2017. So yeah, for a good chunk of our history, we're direct mail, like the stuff you get in your mailbox, postcards, self-mailers, packet envelopes, bills, those kind of things.
Yeah, all the fun stuff, right?
Yeah, the fun stuff. Yeah, we don't do the bills though. Our stuff is more like marketing material.
Yeah.
But about 5 years ago, we slowly started to add a digital component to the company, starting out with just SEO because that's what I knew best. For a while, it was just me on the marketing side. I did marketing for the company for a long time, and SEO is what I knew best. So we slowly started adding digital SEO. What was the next thing? Social media. And then my brother came on board and he started learning PPC. And so we added PPC, pay-per-click. And it was just like a slow evolution to get to where we are today.
Yeah, that's cool. It's funny because it was our family direct mail business didn't go back quite as far, but my grandfather had started the business, I think in the 70s, and my dad took over or started to take over in the 90s, and then I came in kind of around that 2010 timeframe. Similar, like I had no interest in direct mail, but I was like, hey, I'm getting into this digital thing. And, my dad was like, well, come over here and figure it out instead of going down your own path. And I think he saw the transformation going on in that space. And you kind of said it, it's all marketing stuff because all the bills and the touch mail just immediately went to email and digital. And,
Yeah.
it was all that stuff was just, oh, I don't need to pay the postage and all these fees just to get a bill out, So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, did you always have an interest in going into the family business, or, why did you ultimately start there?
That's a good question. So I'm like a big journaler. And I wish I was journaling back in those days when I joined the company in 2003, just to remember my thought process. But from what I remember, so I didn't, to answer your first question, no, I didn't have plans to go into the family business. I had two jobs outside of college. So I went to school for marketing, a minor in finance, which is really strange because I'm not financially minded at all, but that's the way the classes fell. So my degree was in marketing, and I had two jobs outside of college. But funny enough, so I didn't think about the filming business unless, I would like intern there, or whatever you want to call it, during the summer months,
Mm-hmm.
just to make extra money. Honestly, I don't think I had any plans of being in the business, but I was always sort of around it, and I had other odd end jobs too, in college and all that. And my two jobs outside of college, they were actually in the mailing list business, which like buying, like we would work with companies that would buy mailing lists from us, and we would say, hey, we think you should rent this mailing list because the demographics are whatever. And so I wasn't thinking about being part of the family business, but the two jobs I chose outside of college were actually very related. And then I remember 2003, my brother Matt joined, and I think that's when I started giving it more serious thought because he was there. I thought it might be kind of cool to work with him. And I spoke to my uncle and my dad, and they said, well, we don't have a marketing person on the team. We probably should though. That's like the next step for the company. And so why don't you be that marketing director for the company? And so I handle everything from trade shows to the website to SEO to newsletter sponsorship ads to a little bit of sales, mailing out direct mail kits, just, everything marketing related.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. I think it's always interesting family business, in the construction space. There's a ton of family business, and I think it a lot of times happens that way. It's like, oh, this would be fun to work with family, or this sounds like a good thing. And then you kind of create a position in a lot of cases like, well, we could do this. Why don't you go over there and figure that out? And, and then it kind of evolves from there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fortunately, our dynamic is very, because like family businesses don't always work out because there could just be a lot of, it's a whole different beast, really.
Yeah, many
Um,
don't.
yeah, you're right. And so we've been lucky, we've always gotten along, and not that things are perfect, but the dynamic between all of us is, it just kind of meshes well, I guess is the best way to describe it. Like I said, it's not completely problem free, but it's obviously we've managed 55 years, so it's been okay. And I think that's really helped. I don't know about your family business, but that's how we've been.
Yeah, I think, I've been fortunate that my dad has had family businesses on both sides, and he's kind of gotten to see some of the good and some of the bad, and he's been able to take those lessons. And then when I came in to work with him, I think he applied a lot of that, and it was just like, hey, I'm going to do some things that are going to set this up for success, and us working together. So yeah, I definitely got lucky there to have somebody that had that awareness to go, okay, this didn't really work, this works really well, like this is how we'll navigate these scenarios.
That's
So,
great. He
um,
sounds like a good leader.
he is. So let's shift gears a little bit, because I know along this journey, somewhere along the line, you got pretty heavy into personal development. Where do you think that started for you?
Well, I've always read um, I've always read books along that area, like self-help and personal growth and mindset. So that, the book started probably, I don't know, a bunch of years ago, 10 years ago, maybe. Just started kind of gravitating towards that. I don't know why. It just had a pull towards trying to work on myself. I don't think there was, I know there's a defining moment when I really doubled down on it, which I'll go into next. But in terms of like where the interest came from, it just, it just slowly, I know I gravitated towards that. I'm not sure what makes me interested in trying to like improve myself. But like early on, I started reading the books like Thinking Big and How to Win Friends and Influence People and all that kind of stuff. It just really interested me. So, but where I really doubled down on it was about 2017 in the business. We started just going through a lot of issues, and at this point, we had the team, and that was a learning experience for me because I really hadn't had a team up to that point. Well, I hadn't had a team up to that point. It was literally me, and that's just a whole nother dynamic I wasn't used to. And around 2017, we started really in the beginning of 2017. It kind of just started right in the new year. We started just losing clients, like big clients,
Mm-hmm.
like our top clients. And it wasn't all at once where let's shut the doors. It was like a slow drip. But then towards the middle of the year, we're like, like we're not keeping these clients, and what's going on here? And so we started to really evaluate the business, like who do we serve best? What do we do best? Because you're not great at everything. And so we identify like who we serve best, and then what we do best. And we really like refine the sales process, like how we present to prospective clients, the whole like pitch, if you want to call it that, for lack of a better word. But then I started looking inside, like, well, it can't just be that. It needs to be me too. There's something I'm not doing, or something I am doing that's not good. And so I created a morning routine. I mixed up my whole exercise routine. I stopped eating red meat. I know that sounds like I had like a psychotic breakdown. I didn't. I was just really into like trying to fix it and like figure out what I'm going to do. So I started a morning routine. That was probably the biggest thing. And then I just changed my diet. I changed my exercise routine just to try something different. I did boxing, which put me out of my comfort zone. And that combined with getting clear on who we serve and how we get the clients, the combination of those two, at least I think, is what really started to turn us around. Because 2018, we just started to get in a lot more clients. The ship was definitely righted, and it was exciting to see it. Like you're going through it, and then you're trying to fix it, and to see it get fixed, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. And I always think it's interesting too when you're talking about some business challenges, and you did take some business steps, but what I'm hearing from you is you like talked about the things that are kind of outside of that, the morning routine, the fitness, the diet, what do you think it is about those things that bleed into the other areas, of your life?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. At least for me, I know like when I do my morning routine and consume good content on my Audible and Kindle and all that stuff, it changes me as a person. Like I feel like I show up differently. I know I try harder. I try new things. My mindset is stronger, so I'm just a different person. I think that has a nice ripple effect, and I think it's almost like part of my morning routine. I try to learn new things, so I'm taking in new content and trying to apply it to the business. So I think a big part of it is really showing up differently, and also I think mindset is really like half the battle, if not more. And when you invest in yourself like that, if you're the type of person that gets up early, if you're the type of person that invests in yourself, if you're the type of person that spends the first hour doing meditation and this and that, that carries through it the whole day. Like you're then probably the type of person that has the hard conversation, whatever the case is, does the things you don't want to do. And so I think it just has a big impact in the way you show up and the ripple effect that you have on your team and the people around you. That's my belief, at least.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think you're right. Probably a lot of it has to do with getting in that right mindset and the frame of mind. You're listening to stuff and it kind of inspires you to maybe burst through some challenges or take those hard steps that maybe you wouldn't normally take. Well, I'm curious now, what is the current morning routine for you? What does that look like?
Okay, so my morning routine. Okay, so it starts off with exercise, and so I do a quick like 5 minute routine. So 5 minutes. It's not my exercise for the day. I still do other stuff, but just to get my body moving, usually it's 5 minutes of continuous movement. So, and I'll be honest, like this routine has evolved. I started reading The Miracle Morning, which is like where it all started for most people, Hal Elrod, and then I've crafted my own routine based on just what my interests are and what my goals are. A lot of it centers around mindset because that's like my biggest struggle. Like I tend to shy away from confrontation. I don't like challenges, and I've been really working on that area, and I've made nice improvements in that area for myself. That's just my weakness, I guess you could say. So so movement, 5 minutes of kettlebell swings, mountain climbers, like 5 minutes of continuous movement where I am out of breath afterwards. Um, and then I do meditation. So I meditate for 10 minutes. I use Insight Timer. It's an app. It's a free app. They have like courses and stuff, but the part I use is free. So meditation. I do a little bit of journaling, just basically dumping out what's in my mind. Good, bad, whatever the case is, just get it out on paper, pen to paper. Gratitude practice. That's a big thing. I get my daughters into it as well at nighttime. It's so powerful. It like rewires your brain to look for the positive. It really does work. Like my daughters, when I put them to bed, I have them give me one thing they're grateful for. And the first week, maybe they were struggling, like thinking. They couldn't think of anything. And now they're just like, boom, boom, boom. Like they don't have to think. They just know immediately what they're grateful for. And so like that
I love
alone is
that.
proof to me
Yeah.
that it's working.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got more though. There's
You got
more.
more? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm
so you
almost done.
start with the exercise, then you move to meditation and then gratitude.
Gratitude,
Okay. And
quick
journaling. Yep.
journaling. And then I work on like stuff that I label like progress. Like I set my priorities for the day, 3 priorities for the day. I write down what my biggest win was from the day before, and then I write down, excuse me, I write down who I'm going to recognize that day, recognize or motivate, or just reach out to and say, hey, thinking about you. I won't say that, but like just to reach out to them and just see how they're doing. So one person, that's the routine. It takes me about 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So what time do you get up?
I 6:30,
That's not
six
bad.
thirty.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
you can still get a lot of stuff done and, without getting up super early. So
We work from home
yeah.
now, so I got a little more flexibility.
Yeah.
I
A
don't
few
have to
more
commute
minutes
anymore.
without the commute.
Yep, exactly. So it's
um,
made that a little easier.
So I'm curious. I want to dig into the journaling piece a little bit because that's something I've similar to you. Love personal development and just I don't know. You read stuff, you listen to stuff, and it just pushes you forward. Some days a little, some days a lot. the journaling comes up a lot, and I just haven't like found a way to bake that into my routine, or haven't done that. What have you noticed from doing journaling that makes you want to keep doing it? Like, what do you know?
Yeah, I think this, yeah, from my point of view, my journaling in the morning as part of my morning routine, it's literally like a paragraph. I just think whatever's on my mind, I just get it out and it feels good just to clear my mind. And I also like to have like a trail of what I was thinking in the morning. Cause after at the end of the month, I'll review the 30 days of journal entries I put in. And it literally is like literally a paragraph. But what I do too with journaling is if I'm having a problem or I'm trying to resolve something or trying to brainstorm something, I'll go pen and paper, which technically is still journaling. And I've heard on a podcast that your hand, what was it? I'm gonna mess it up now. But your brain thinks quicker than you can write. So by going pen to paper, you naturally have to calm your brain down because you can only write so fast, you know.
Interesting.
And so it has sort of like at least for me, a calming effect, just going pen to paper. And so if I'm having an issue, I'll do like pros and cons, or if I'm trying to think of something new, like a marketing thing, I'll just write down all my ideas and just spill it all out. And there's something therapeutic about it. And I usually come up with something really good. That combined with the meditation, when your mind is clear and you're not like busy, it's amazing. Like things just pop in my head that I was dealing with, that I think of something that might fix it. And so the two of those really help a lot.
Yeah, that's good. Sounds like I might have needed to do that last night. I could not fall asleep. My mind was just racing, but maybe I just need to get stuff on paper and,
Yeah,
move
write your
on.
to-do list for
So
next day.
yeah,
Right,
for
and
sure.
read, or the reading and journaling. They'll put you right to sleep like a baby.
I like it. I like it. Well, let's talk about kind of integrating some of this into the business environment. Like, I know you've talked about your morning routine, but I'm curious, have you worked to like implement some of these things with your team, or do you just like bake in ways that other people can always be learning, or how have you kind of tackled that piece of it?
Yeah, so this is like the next evolution of my life, or myself, like Ryan version 2.0, or at least my attempt at it. COVID. I've always written about personal development, and so I decided to make a brand out of it. So I've got morningupgrade.com, which is a blog, a weekly blog, and a weekly podcast. It's a real passion project for me. It's my attempt to try to create impact, to provide content that I think will help people if they read it or if they listen to it. So it's my passion/impact project. And I've been trying with my team too. Like, you know, I want, you can't force someone to take personal growth seriously. But I can at least share things with them, and then hopefully one or two or three people, or however many people, they'll pull something from it and it'll help them. And eventually they'll think like, oh, maybe I should do this for myself, and I'll adapt it for my goals this way, or whatever the case is, kind of like how I did it. And so how that looks for me right now is I send out a Sunday email. So every Sunday I send out an email to the team, company wins, quotes, personal development advice, anything I've learned from like what I consume. If I find something that I think will help them, I'll message myself to remind myself to share it on Sunday. And so personal development advice, quotes, company wins, even like movie and band recommendations. It's become like a very diverse newsletter. And so
I
I send
like
that
it.
every Sunday, and I've been consistent. I've done it, every Sunday for the last, when did I start this? It was a COVID thing too. So I think it was like April, May. I don't know, right
Yeah,
around then.
about a year. Yeah.
About a year. Yeah, about a year. So every Sunday. And then we started a book club. So we started off reading The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And we've sprinkled in like some parables and even some like fiction books. That's not always personal development, but just a way for us to get together and communicate non-business. And then some of the content is personal development. And then I've been sharing my podcast with the team too. For some reason, I hesitated doing that. I'm not sure why. But recently I was like, wait, what am I doing? I'm putting out this content. I think it'll help people to listen to it. So why don't I share it with them? So I share the podcast because I release a new episode every Sunday. And so I do my email Sunday. So it's perfect. So I share the latest podcast. So that's the way I've been doing it. It's been a slow evolution. I try not to be like pushy. Like I just put it out there, and who consumes it, if they consume it, they consume it. If they don't, they don't. It's totally up to them.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's crazy to hear some of the similarities. We've got a book club as well, and same thing. And you always you can tell who kind of grasps it, and they're like, oh yeah, like this is a good path to be on. And then some people are kind of like, yeah, I'm getting something out of this. But I'm curious, have you noticed on your team like a couple of people that are like, oh yeah, this is awesome?
Yeah, like so certain people will respond to the email, the same people. Uh, some people are the regulars on the book club. Um, so yeah, I've definitely noticed, some people taking more of an interest than others, and that's totally fine. It's their life, so they can live it how they want. Um, Another thing we do, I forgot to mention, is goal setting. So we set quarterly goals with the team. That's done more through Larissa, our team manager. Though I review it and stuff, I get to see it, but we help them set quarterly reviews, like goal setting, because that's a big part of personal development, obviously, as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any ideas on your kind of wish list or dream list of like what else you want to bake into the company culture around personal development, or are you kind of doing everything that you're wanting to do right now?
Well, my next thing on my bucket list, I think we spoke about this before we recorded, like, or the pre-show call, but um, a book. I want to write a book. I'm actually going to do it. I've decided I'm going to do it.
Right on.
So now I'm really laying out the groundwork, and I journaled on that, like the table of contents, and it's going to be geared towards entrepreneurs that want to use morning routines and personal development to upgrade their life and business. But really, like if my team read it, they would get a lot out of it. It's just like the angle I'm trying. It's the audience I'm choosing to speak to, but really they can read it and get something out of it. So I'm hoping that could be one book we read for the book club, and hopefully they'll get one or two things out of it that helps them. So that's like my next thing on my bucket list. I want to be an author.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's a fun journey. So yeah, best of luck on that one, and I know
Thank you.
you'll complete it. So we've got a couple more questions, and then we got a last section of our show. But I guess is there anything that I haven't asked you that you feel like when you're talking about this topic you really like to share, or something that I missed?
I think the biggest objection I get is like the morning routines, like they don't have time to do it. And, my routine might make me sound like a crazy person, but I've been doing it for like years now. And so I've sort of just evolved it. And it's just become a habit now where it's just something I do at 7 days a week. I don't even think about it now. But I would say just start small. You don't need to do the whole thing. Like, literally, if you did like meditation and, um, gratitude practice, those two things alone, if you make a habit out of them, they're going to be uh, very pivotal for you. So I would say just start small. It could be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then just build from there.
Good advice. Yeah. All the toughest habits that I've either formed or broken, they're always those like micro steps. So that's great advice. So before we get to the last segment of the show, you mentioned the weekly podcast and blog. If people want to check that out, what's the best way to connect or get subscribed or whatever it is?
Yeah. So first of all, our company website is ballantine.com, like the beer, but no relationship at all. It's ballantine.com. And then the personal development blog and podcast is morningupgrade.com.
Awesome. Easy enough. And we'll put those links in the show notes for you guys. But Ryan, before we wrap, we always do one last segment. We call it the Fast Five. So I'll hit you with 5 rapid fire questions and just say whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
First one, favorite business book and why?
I have to say, I had two that come to mind real quick, but I'll give you Darren Hardy's Compound Effect, about the small things that add up to results, and then How to Win Friends, Influence People. Those are the two that came in to mind, like at the same time.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. All right. Next question is, who is the most inspirational person in your life?
Does it have to be someone I know, or can it be?
Can be anybody. Yeah.
I would have to say the first person came to mind for me was Ed Milet. He's got a podcast, and just an impressive guy. All these businesses, family man, successful podcast. He just does a lot. He's a machine, and I don't know. I just resonate with his message. I think it's impressive what he does.
Cool. Very cool. All right. If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Um, First thing that came to mind was flying. I think that sounds really dorky, but I guess I'll go with that. Flying.
Flying's good. Flying's a common answer. I think there's something about it that we all want to be able to fly. So, all right, describe yourself in 3 words.
3 words. Oh boy. Kind, optimistic, and ambitious.
Awesome. All right, Ryan. Final question is, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would that be?
I would have to say, yes. Take your personal growth seriously. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Start a morning routine. Those 3 things will make a big difference.
Very cool. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for joining me today. I had a blast, and it's been fun to learn a little bit more about your story, and you had some great advice on routines and personal development, but how to bleed that into kind of all areas of your life. So thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer. I really enjoyed this. Thanks everyone for listening.